So it's the off season, and I figured why not reach out to someone else who loves the game of hockey, especially junior hockey, as Tyler from Puck My Life. It's a goal of his to go to 100 hockey arenas, and I understand, Tyler, you're going outside of North America to go to some of these arenas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're going anywhere and everywhere. We've basically said if you've got a puck, we're on our way at some point. And I've seen games in the U.S., obviously, Canada, and last year had the opportunity to travel to Sweden and take part in the Global Series, along with seeing the SHL Tier One and a Tier Two squad.
And you were in Barrie during the playoffs, and I remember you were wearing a European jersey. I was quite impressed that you were wearing that. You must be a pretty huge hockey fan to be able to pull off a jersey like that.
Yeah, that one was actually the tier two team that we saw in Vostervik. And the funny thing was is that at that game down the row from me, there was actually some guys from Sweden and saw me and came up to me and they thought it was the most random thing and started talking to me in Swedish to start off the conversation, thinking I was from Sweden. I had to correct them. I was like, no, I just went there last fall and I got this jersey and I didn't have a jersey for either Oshawa or Barry, so I just wanted to wear something random. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to have those guys in my same row.
Oh, that's incredible. So just right off the top, I guess the big question is why did you set this goal of 100 arenas?
Well, I had always been like a hockey fan throughout my whole life. Not too much like when I was in college and through high school, it kind of dropped off a little bit. But just before all the madness in the world happened and everything, me and my buddy Cody were going to arenas and we decided we wanted to go out to Canada and check out some games. And after that, going over to Canada, seeing some stuff over there, along with the few arenas that we knew that were around us at the time, uh, I just got hooked and started building it up. And I don't even know really how I came up with the idea of just trying to do 100. And when I first did initially get that goal together, I did the math based off of how many I had been to at that point. It's like, man, it's going to take me like 30 years or something like that to do this. It was crazy. But, I put my head down and just went after it. And a few years later, I'm sitting at 77 different arenas worldwide, but I've been to 85 total, been in the building, but only 77 I have actually witnessed the home team play in.
So with that, then next season you could hit your goal potentially of 100 arenas.
Yeah, that's the plan. I don't really want to stretch it any more than the 30. There's still like over 15 just in the state of Michigan between the lower and upper peninsula that I still have to see, and then countless teams over in Canada that I've been dying to go over and see as well. That's just right across the border there in Ontario. So it's definitely going to be very doable, and I will hit that for next year. But I'm going to try to keep the goal at 30. I just think that that's manageable to where I'm not going to wear myself out over the course of a season.
And from your experiences so far, what's been the biggest standout for you when you go to these different rinks?
The biggest standout, hands down, was going to Sweden. I have never seen the energy from fans that I had when I was in Sweden. I mean, they have the hooligan sections. I mean, they're chanting all game long. There's been games this season where I went to, and there was like no chants at all started by either crowd. And these people are standing the entire time. They're chanting, they're yelling, they're screaming. I mean, if anybody gets a chance to go overseas and catch some Swedish hockey, I highly recommend it. It was a life changing experience. I loved it. I want to go back. We're planning on going back this next season for at least like 7 to 10 days and see more of the country. And yeah, that was hands down the best experience this season.
And what are the facilities like over there? Like it sounds like it must be some pretty big venues over there for having such a wild crowd.
Yeah, Husqvarna Gardens. I would have to say like it's more on par with the AHL to like ECHL style barns, and then Tier Two. We only went to Vostervik, but from what I can see from the other Tier Two teams, I think it would actually be on par with like the OHL and like college hockey here in the states. So that's about like how would compare the two as far as the size of venue. But yeah, the SHL I think is right up there like with the AHL as far as like venue wise.
And when you go to these arenas, do you have like a certain kind of scorecard that you're putting together to try and rank all these arenas that you're visiting?
So what we do when we do the recap show is that we talk about the experience and like what it would be like to go there, from the parking to how to get tickets. Are tickets expensive for that team? Their merch selection, what the concessions are like, and then what the whole atmosphere is of the entire experience. And then at the end of the show, we give each team a puck score out of 50, and then we're going to start putting some more stuff in a chart to rank them once, now that we've been to a lot more teams in a lot of these other leagues, because some of these leagues we've only been to like one or two, so it's hard to compare them to other teams within the league. But now we're starting to kind of build like a wider portfolio of teams that we've been to. So now for next season, we're planning on actually having like a ranking chart where you can actually go in and see where we've ranked these teams that we've seen throughout those leagues.
And with you, where you're located in Michigan, you're not far from Saginaw and Flint. So I'm assuming then you've been to quite a few Spirit and Firebird games. And have you followed them on the road?
Yeah, I've followed them on the road. I've this past playoff that just happened, I was actually in Owen Sound when Saginaw swept the Attack. So that was a pretty cool experience. I haven't done a whole lot with them, either of those teams on the road. It's just the way that it's been lining up. Like when I was in Guelph this past season, I believe they were playing. Who were they playing? They were playing Erie, and then when I was in Barrie, I got to see Oshawa play. So it just hasn't quite lined up to where I've been able to see those guys on the schedule. Obviously, that's the first thing I look for when we're looking to plan a trip. But sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
So this channel, we focus on the Ontario Hockey League. So I just want to get your take on some of the arenas that you've visited for the OHL. Is there a favorite that you have outside of maybe one of your home team rinks?
Wow. I mean, I have the bias for Saginaw, but if I was to pick a different one, I do really like the Meridian Center in St. Catharines, Ontario. That one's a really nice. The only thing I didn't like about that was it was very complicated to figure out the whole parking thing, because the way that the city sits, it's like higher up on this hill, and we had to go back in through like some like busy streets and then actually to find some of the parking lots. But I thought that was a really cool arena. I liked how it was like open around the whole concourse. So like when you were walking around, you could be able to kind of slip over and catch any of the action. Like it wasn't where you're really gonna miss anything. So as of right now, I'd probably say the Meridian Center in St. Catharines is probably high on the list.
Well, I was kind of wondering if that would be kind of high on your list because I'm looking on your background and hiding behind Wayne Gretzky. I see the Niagara Ice Dogs flag, so I kind of figured they must
Yes, sir.
must have been up there.
Yeah, yeah. It was actually kind of a cool story that how I got that. So when Cody and I, we were doing a trip where we went and hit up Erie, then we went up to Buffalo and watched the Sabres, and then we were cutting back over to watch the London Knights take on the Niagara Ice Dogs, and we didn't have any gear for the Ice Dogs. We don't like the London Knights at all. They're the goon squad is what we like to call them. And so we called the team in St. Catharines to say, "Hey, we're going to the game. Is it possible we could stop into the team store and actually get some merch to wear at the game?" So they let us in, and we got like I got a jersey and that flag, and we got a few other things. Cody got a shirt and a toque and everything. So we were like two of like eight Niagara Ice Dog fans at that game, and we were getting heckled the entire time. It was great.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and that I could see that being a fun spot to be with the Niagara Ice Dogs against London. And I feel like whenever you have the Knights come into town, it's always they're like the evil empires, how a lot of fan bases view them.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
And for you, you're getting ready for the Memorial Cup because it's being held in Saginaw. So must be pretty exciting for you. You're going to be going to a few of those games. And the Dow Event Center, I haven't been in there since they've done the renovations. They've put in quite a bit of money into the facility to get ready for the Memorial Cup. How's it looking?
It's looking great. Honestly, this stuff should have been done a long time ago, whether we were hosting the Memorial Cup or not. It was just something that needed to be done. And I'm glad that the Memorial Cup came in and it finally gave them the kick in the butt to actually get these things done. And so it's great for the team and the organization moving forward. And I can't wait to see what it's going to be like, how they're going to have it all set up for the Memorial Cup. I know we just installed like a wraparound LCD screen and a few other things that they were looking to add. And yeah, it's going to be great. I'm super pumped for tomorrow night when I think Saginaw is taking on the Q team. I think no Moose Jaw, so they're taking on Moose Jaw tomorrow night.
And how has the community response been since finding out the Memorial Cup was coming to Saginaw? Because it hasn't been held in a U.S. city since 1998 with Portland. So this is a pretty big moment for the Michigan market.
Yeah, and it was something that, like, when we saw that they were bidding for the Memorial Cup, we were very skeptical at first. Like, man, we're not sure if we're gonna get this. And then we got it, and then everybody was just like in shock that we got it. And so it's like, all right, now the work needs to get going. So yeah, the communities rallied around it. They actually announced at the launch party thing that they had at the park today that we have almost 1,000 volunteers for the event. And yeah, the community has just been a big part of this all throughout the season, from training camp all the way up until the Memorial Cup starting tomorrow night. And it's really cool to see a lot of these other hockey fans just kind of come out of the woodwork. And it's nice that we have, the Foot Firebirds down the road. There's a lot of OHL fans down there too. And then it's just been great for the community. So I'm really excited to see what this is going to do for the Great Lakes Bay region, not only during the cup but after the cup, because I think it's going to be carried over into next season, and it's just going to keep building up the spirit and the OHL.
Well, Tyler, thank you very much for doing this. It's been fun following you on Instagram and seeing all your journeys and all the arenas you're going to. So I look forward to when you do reach your 100 goal for the hockey arenas next season, and also enjoy the Memorial Cup next week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I kind of have a feeling that we're going to see Saginaw in London in the final. I don't know. What are you thinking before we get going?
Well, I'm kind of wondering with the drama that we saw from the Western Conference Final, I wouldn't be surprised if that carries over, and I would love to see an all OHL matchup for for the Memorial Cup, and it would be great for Saginaw just to slay the dragon, which is the London Knights. It'd be probably a great feel good story for Saginaw and maybe the rest of the OHL.
Yeah, and I know they do got some confidence going into this. They're the only team that actually has beat the London Knights in the playoffs, so I know that they have that going for them. But as long as they can come out strong in that first period and set the tone, I think they're going to be able to take care of some business. So I know some people are doubting the Saginaw Spirit and what they're able to do because they're just the host team, but St. John's was just the host team a couple years ago and they took it all. So look out, the Spirit are coming.
Well, it's going to be a ton of fun, and all the best. Okay, Tyler.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So it's always good to chat hockey, and you can always follow along with Tyler's adventures over on Instagram. His handle, Puck My Life, and as you saw in the background there, tons of pucks from his excursions to all the different arenas from Europe to across the U.S., even in Canada. So it's a really cool story, and it's going to be neat to see which arena will be number 100 next season. So you can always follow along with him there over on Instagram. So I'll be continuing to do interviews like this during the off season. We'll have some chats, talk about some different adventures, and maybe catch up with a few players. But still, it's going to be fun throughout as we get ready for the 2024-25 season as training camp gets underway at the end of August. So enjoy the summer while you can, but we already know hockey is not too far away. But anyways, that's how we see it from the booth here. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.